Hello and welcome to the show today. I'm really glad you could join us. So look, I am not an IT guy. I'm not a tech guy. I have to admit, it's like a weakness of mine. Like with anything related to tech, I like secretly have somebody else come in and do it. And I'm not saying that somebody else is my 11-year-old son. I'm not saying that, but it could be the case. But look, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we have the same problem. We suck at tech. That's the real problem. It's frustrating for us, and we spend a lot more time doing it than the wrong way, trying to figure out how to do it the right way. And so today we're going to fix that. So with us today is Jon Schram. Now he's an IT support expert and the founder and CEO of The Purple Guys. You got to check out their website. It's awesome. purpleguys.com. And they're a tech company and has grown since 2001 to become the Midwest's premier provider of IT support services. Now, the Purple Guys is a fast-growing 7-digit business that has helped hundreds of companies grow by solving their IT problems and providing them with stress-free, bulletproof tech support. Jon, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I'm really glad you're here because I'm hoping you can fix my problems as well today. So let me ask you this. I mean, when it comes to like digital readiness for a business, I think this is something that kind of indirectly is on a lot of our mind. What's the importance of kind of the IT piece in a being ready for all the stuff that's changing in the tech world and when it comes to digital readiness as well?
Well, I think, and I actually like that term, digital
I do
readiness.
too. You can take it right now.
I'm going to start using that in my
Yeah.
materials. And I will tell you, people found out if they were digitally ready in March of last year. It really put a highlight on, hey, we think we're flexible. We got all this stuff squared away. Our tech stack is stable. It put a very bright spotlight on whether or not that statement was true or not. So I would tell you that kind of the digital readiness gives you that flexibility, stability, security, um, and I guess ease of support for your staff. Because I mean, most people are like you. They're not a tech person. They just want the tech stuff to work. When you turn it on, you want it to work. You don't want to wait for 27 minutes of updates to happen right before you're going into your board meeting, which is always when that occurs. Like, hey, your system is now locked because it's performing updates. So you want to do those updates at 2:00 in the morning, not at 8:27 before your 8:30 meeting. So the digital readiness side of things, again, you got a giant highlighter put on it in March. And the folks that really had flexibility, they had stability, they had good processes and procedures, flipping the switch and working from home was not a big deal. And if it wasn't, it was a really painful process that, holy cow, how are we going to stay connected? Do we really have the tools in place that people can continue to collaborate? Do we have any of the security pieces that are there? Do people even have laptops with a camera on them? Do they even have laptops? Do they have to unplug all the stuff that's sitting on their desk at work and try to schlep it home and hopefully have a place to set it up and still eat dinner at their dining room table? So,
what did you find in COVID were some of the biggest challenges that your clients that you saw out there in the IT world? Because like you said, this really tested. And one of my mentors is he runs a really successful attorney firm. And he was like, yeah, we kind of nonchalantly discussed that in a SWOT analysis.
yeah.
And then when it actually went down, like we were nowhere close to being as prepared as what we thought we were. So I'm interested from your perspective, what were some of the really big challenges that people faced with COVID when it comes to the IT world?
The specific technical challenges were equipment. So did they have portable equipment? And there were still a lot of people that used desktops. So the folks that just had desktops had to figure out, all right, you're not coming to the office, so let's schedule you to come in stages, pack up your desktop, take it home, and hopefully you remember how to plug it back in. Because there's a few cords. It's actually not that hard, but it can be intimidating if you don't do that. And then the other piece was, all right, what's remote connectivity even look like? So are we already in the cloud where we're already, kind of location independent from our core systems, or does the ability to do our day-to-day job depend on being connected to the stuff that's inside the four walls where we're used to driving and being every day? And a lot of people figured out that, oh yeah, I needed that upgraded firewall that our IT company had been recommending to us this last 3 years, because 2 connections remotely isn't good enough for my 40-person staff. and the bandwidth throttling that is going to occur on that 12-year-old piece of hardware that I'm relying on to connect to the outside world. The other thing is bandwidth, that if you do have physical infrastructure inside your four walls, and we saw this occur, they had reasonably decent connectivity, but when all of a sudden your entire staff are coming through that pipe that connects your office to the outside world, you're maxing it out. So how expensive is it? How easy is it to turn that connectivity up? So it's the equipment, it's the connectivity. Those were the big hurdles. And then making sure that connectivity is secure. So when you go home and you remote back in, if you've got physical servers inside your four walls, you can actually remote all the way back into the server. It is way less secure than remoting through a firewall and then going into the server. So taking all those things into account, day one, it's just, hey, keep the lights on, keep us connected. Let's make sure we can still answer the phone, do our jobs as best we can. But then over time, you start asking these questions. And one of the things we have seen as this kind of played out throughout the year, people tended to be more lax at home. I think part of that is they're distracted because they're not only are they working at home, they're also figuring out how to be a homeschool teacher at the same time. So there's more distractions that are there. And they might have, if they're, two spouses, they might both be trying to work at home and they're distracting one another. But people have tended to click on stuff they shouldn't click on. Not that they're going places they shouldn't be going. It's just there's bad stuff that gets sent out an email all the time. So if you didn't have a good email filter, you didn't have a good antivirus, you didn't train your team what to look for, we've seen a lot of people get tripped up and click on stuff they shouldn't have clicked on and have had to recover from backup when they click on some of that stuff.
What do you think some of the bigger problems that entrepreneurs face with technology are?
I think most business owners just assume the technology is going to work. And I guess it's you just believe the marketing material. If you're starting a business from scratch, there's a difference between your standalone environment, your iPhone connects to your Mac, connects to whatever, a single person kind of sole proprietor type of a setup versus 20, 30, 40 people needing to leverage all of the same platform. There's more security issues related to that. There's more data centralization. Where does the data live? How does it get backed up? The complexity that comes with volume, I think, often gets overlooked by a new business startup. It's like, and we even get asked, or the statement gets made, well, this is so easy when it's just, my home stuff. I click on this thing, I use this app, I'm connected to my kid that lives in, wherever. How come I can't just have an instant call? I'm like, well, you can if it's just two of you. But if you really want, a real, video conferencing solution and platform, then you got to figure out, all right, do you want to use Zoom? Do you want to use Teams? Do you want to use Google Hangouts? They all have pluses and minuses. They all also have different security issues. I mean, early on, that was the whole the Zoom bombing thing that happened because, people were publishing the Zoom meeting ID and Zoom quickly figured that out and fixed it, but you didn't know what you didn't know. So, it's the underestimating the complexity of what's going to be required to keep the tech stuff working. And that's, the way I look at it, the way our business functions, you're never not going to need a help desk. You're always going to want to be able to pick up the phone and say, this thing ain't working. And, whether it's slow today, which is really fun to troubleshoot technically, because slow is such a relative term. But it's slow. It's not fast enough. Like, what does that even mean? But we figured out what that means over time. Or I lost my password, I can't get logged in. That stuff is going to always happen. And no matter what platform you're on, and a high percentage of people still print stuff. So, the calls that come into us, it's performance, like it's slow. It's something to do with I can't get logged in, like I lost my password, or I can't print something, or even turn it into a PDF that I can turn around and collaborate with someone else. So, anticipating the fact that your employees are going to continue to need that support no matter where things are is one of the things I think entrepreneurs overlook.
What do you think about, with the pandemic? What are some of the best tech solutions you found that are helping people right now?
This is going to sound self-serving because it sort of is, but we're a Microsoft shop mostly. I will tell you that the solution of Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft kind of upped its game and added some bells and whistles to that platform throughout the pandemic. But that platform really helped, and it's one of the ones that is my favorite. And we've got 176 small businesses we support. We've got a plethora of different platforms that we support across them. Um, and you can use the Zoom kind of in conjunction with Google Sheets and that kind of thing. But having it all kind of encapsulated in that Teams platform, where your document management, SharePoint for collaboration and document management, the Teams platform for video conferencing and calling, really has been a very solid platform for small business, because it's a one-stop shop for all of the bells and whistles you need for a cloud-enabled environment that helps a distributed workforce stay connected. And it's also got the security built into it. Uh, so you can centralize it. You can use the tools that Microsoft has available to authenticate passwords. You can turn on two-factor authentication, which just means you've got two different ways you're authenticating as opposed to just a simple user ID and a password. So that has been one of the most robust platforms that we've seen people take advantage of.
What did you see? I'm interested in your world. I mean, how did your world adjust with COVID? Because, man, the problems radically changed that everybody had, as you've mentioned, kind of throughout, especially in the beginning. So, how do you find that IT teams, whether it be companies like you or internal IT teams, really had to make adjustments and adapt during all this?
Well, just like everybody else, we went remote because that was kind of the thing. Now, we're located here in Kansas City, so we're used to dealing with ice storms and the occasional everybody's got to work remotely just because you can't physically drive to the office. So we had those things set up. So we used the Teams platform way more than we ever had before. So just internal process changes was we relied on the platform that we're turnaround and supporting our customers on, which actually helped us help them. The other piece was we had to figure out how to remotely troubleshoot a ton more variables. And by what I mean by that is, if 90% of your staff comes to the same place every day, there is a firewall and a internet connection that really controls 80-90% of your staff. As soon as COVID hit and everybody went working from home, it's now not just the device you're working on, your laptop. It's all right, do you have a cable modem? Are you using some sort of a wireless connectivity? Are you Wi-Fi in your house? Are you plugged in? Which cable and or internet flavor do you have at your home? Most people didn't have and still don't have an actual firewall in their house, because you don't really need it. It would be awesome if everybody did, but most companies aren't going to go out and foot the bill for $1,000 device added on to every single employee just so they can have a secure firewall at their house. So we had to adapt to the troubleshooting required to, and it's back to that, it's slow today. Because it's slow today could be your kids are all streaming Netflix while you're trying to do your work and you actually are maxing out the bandwidth at home. Or the reality is they're trying to do online school and you're sharing the same set of bandwidth and it's slowing everything down. So we had to learn to ask a whole bunch of new questions related to home environments, in addition to the regular stuff that we were used to supporting, which is the operating system and patches and system updates and antivirus and all that kind of stuff.
What about right time to hire IT support? Because I know it's probably not right for every business, maybe not even for people just getting off the ground. So, as entrepreneurs, like at what point do we really know that we really need to be looking into outside IT help?
That's a great question. And I would tell you, we still run across folks that just and it's probably a control thing. They just assume, hey, this has got to be in house always. And the question I like to ask, and especially if it's the owner that's doing the support, which was actually me in a prior life. I've started a few businesses and I was doing the IT support and being the president of the company. I'm like, well, this is really not smart. I can probably offload this to somebody else. But that's the question is, is the person inside your four walls who's doing the IT, because someone's doing it. Like, it is a necessity of your employees to have IT support. So someone is functioning as your IT support, whether it's your office manager or your accounting person. For some reason, it's always associated with finance. But it's someone is spending part of their day, or multiple people are spending part of their day doing the IT support. So the question is, what's that worth? If their job, I've actually run across where it's the salesperson that's doing the IT support. I'm like, all right, if they go make one more sale this week, doesn't that mean you can afford to, like, isn't that a better use of their time than making sure people's printers are working? But trying to put that business valuation on it is the first thing of, you are spending money and time and resources on it already. Can you quantify it? Who's doing it? What are you really spending? And then the other thing is, at about that 10 employee level, you really need a person, and possibly more than one person, available. Because if you've got 10 people, chances are 2 people having a problem at the same time is going to happen. And if you've just got, a person, allocated, they're going to help one person at a time. So that's where I would say, kind of that 10 employee and up is where you really want to have access to a help desk. And that help desk might be a 2-person help desk or a 5-person help desk, or, in our case, we got 20 people waiting to answer the phone. But you want the bandwidth available to your end users so that when they need support, they can essentially pick up the phone or reach out via chat or email or whatever platform they're using and get that support. So that's how I would counsel a small business to look at it, is first figure out what you're spending now, because you are spending money on it. Like, absolutely, you're spending. There's someone providing the support for you.
And so, I'm that dude. I'm guilty. It was our sales guy that actually was doing our IT. But in all fairness, he was the most qualified in the company.
Yes, that's who. Yeah,
but the other thing, interesting enough, is like we couldn't find you guys out there, and that's why I'm glad you're here, because we didn't know who to look. Like, when we realized, we're like, we need somebody in IT at this point. You look online. There's the local computer repair people, and they're not the people.
Yeah.
So that's why I love what you do, because you really help solve a huge problem that a lot of us have.
Yeah. The way I explain it, and this was true pre-COVID, we've got roughly 6,000 end users we support across 176 small businesses. So they're small businesses. And when we do our jobs well, so I've really got a 30-person tech team, 20 of them are dedicated to the service desk. But when we do our job well, we are making that person have a better day, because their stuff's going to work. They're going to be less frustrated. They're going to be more productive. Their company's going to be more productive. They're, pre-COVID, they're going to go home in a better mood. Now they're just going to be at home in a better mood. And it's a chance to really positively impact the entire community. I mean, when you're supporting 6,000 people, that's a ton of people that we do our job well, their stuff works, they're more productive, they're in a better mood. They're nicer to their kids and their family and everything else. It's the service aspect side of this is why we really exist. Because to me, small business is the engine that drives our country, and it's super cool to play a role in maintaining and supporting small businesses. Because to me,
what do you think, working from home in COVID, what are the biggest challenges? And we talked about some of the things that are different that we're seeing now, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you see, and where are business owners really struggling to get control of this work from home environment?
I think the biggest challenges, one of the biggest challenges is cultural, in maintaining that. Who are we as a team in a company when we don't see each other every day? So can you really leverage a platform where you're just seeing people on a screen to maintain that culture? That's a big one, because it hits to productivity. It hits to also the work-life balance. Do you have a defined boundary now that it is, work from home and it's sort of always on, always there, maintaining that structure of, all right, this is the work day. You really should get up and actually put on a button-down shirt instead of just working in your jammies. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But maintaining that culture And then can you leverage the technology to help maintain that culture? I think that's one of the biggest challenges facing small businesses today. I've known people, even in our own customer base, they've had people come back to the office just because the culture thing was the hard thing to get done. It wasn't a productivity question. It was they were starting to feel just totally disconnected and isolated. So that to me is, and it's not necessarily a pure technical thing. It's how do you solve that and maintain your company culture while you're all out and about.
What do you think some of the secrets are to really running remote IT teams? Like, what makes you guys so successful at doing what you guys do, especially now that you guys are home based?
Yeah. The sort of the secret sauce to us. So what makes Purple Guys, in my opinion, the best outsourced IT thing out there, it is process and people. And everybody's going to talk about people. But we hire first for customer service skills and second for technical skills. Now, they do have to have technical skills because we do have to solve technical problems. But first and foremost, we are a customer service organization. We are dealing with the person using the technology, not just the technology. It took me actually the first year and a half of running this business to understand that. I was hiring very, very competent technical people, and then soon realized that if you watched old Saturday Night Live, they had a tech support guy that was one of their skits, and that person exists. There's a lot of them out there too. He's just like, move, and he would sit at the keyboard, if you remember that skit. And if you hire that person to provide tech support, you're very quickly going to alienate the people you're providing tech support to. So that's the first thing is that customer service focus. And then the tactical, all right, what makes us able to even do that, do the support? We are crazy about documentation. So we write stuff down. We have processes and procedures. We have a centralized database. Each customer has their own unique set of documentation that we can access at our fingertips. So when company X calls in, we know all the software that they use. We've got all the passwords. We've got all the vendors that they interact with. We know what they do as a business, and we can have a conversation about their particular environment every single time they call in. And we can be responsive to their needs. So having the system and the process and the documentation, which is really easy to say, it's incredibly hard to do because you want to provide the support, but you also want to update the documentation while you're doing it because things change. I mean, technology changes every 6 months. There's something brand new, regardless of COVID happening. So you've got to have the discipline to maintain your process and your procedures and your documentation so that you can then turn around and provide that excellent support.
John, you mentioned security several times. What kind of things should we be doing to protect our database?
To protect all your data wherever it is, there's a couple of things. Number one, if you're using any kind of outsourced software, any kind of cloud-based things, most of those come with the ability to turn on a two-factor authentication. So I mentioned that earlier. That to me is the total no-brainer. So if we'll take the Microsoft platform. So the Microsoft 365 or Office 365 comes with two-factor authentication baked in. You need to turn it on. And is it an extra layer of security? Yes. Does that mean it's an extra pain in the rear? Yes, it is. To make stuff more secure, you got to jump through another hoop, and that's on purpose. But everybody should leverage as much security as they possibly can, and two factors, a total no-brainer. You should have good firewalls, like actual physical devices that are gonna, if you've still got internal equipment, needs to be behind a firewall. If it's out in the cloud provider generally provides that firewall functionality. You also should provide your end users with training. And that's one of the things we rolled out a few years back. KnowBe4 is kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the space. It's KNOWB and the number 4. But it's, what do you look for? Like, is this a legit or a malicious email? Should I click on this link or not? And we do training, and we still have people click on it. And again, we're in the tech space, and we still click on stuff we're not supposed to every once in a while. But the fewer times that people click on bad stuff, the less support is going to be required and the less recovery. So knowing that from a security perspective, knowing what to look for is huge, because your end users are both your first and last line of defense. So if they can spot something and say, hey, this just looks fishy, and teaching them how to hover over the URL, or double check something before they click it, because one errant click can bring the company to its knees, and we still have it happen. So protecting the data side, you want to also always ask the question, how is this backed up? So whether it's a cloud database, which is something a lot of people don't know about the Microsoft platform, baked into the outsourced email on Microsoft 365 or Outlook 365, it does not come out of the box with a backup. It has a data retention component to it, but it is not a backup at all. You have to bolt on a third-party tool to the Microsoft email platform in order to have it actually be backed up. And if you're in a regulated industry, you already know that, because you got to basically maintain your history for 7 years. And in order to do that, you've got to put a third party on it anyway. But there's asking the question of, how is this data backed up? If something even non-malicious, somebody actually accidentally hits delete, how do I get back? So knowing you've got a good backup, knowing you can restore from backup, and periodically testing it. And yes, it takes time and effort, and someone's got to verify that, yes, the data's back and we can delete and then restore. But you got to go through all those processes. So two-factor authentication, training your end users, making sure you got a good backup and that you test it. Those are the top three.
John, how do you take these, challenges and really turn them into an advantage? Because again, I think all of us, including our competition, are plagued by these kind of challenges. We all got our world rocked in COVID. So we've talked about a lot of challenges, but what is the best way to start taking a lot of these challenges and actually turn them into an advantage to grow faster, to grow easier?
I think the more you can create standardization around what people use and how they do it, the easier it is to scale. So from a competitive advantage, you want to know your stuff's going to work. When you've got a meeting, when you got to prep for something, you want to know that it's the same every time, and it works every time. And short of somebody getting a device stolen, and even that, you want to prepare for, if something gets stolen, how do I replace it and get them back up and running? So having those solid processes and procedures that keep everybody productive as much as possible is a way to make technology a competitive advantage. So it's just not a barrier. It's not slowing people down. It's not frustrating. And your folks can just focus on the things that they need to do for their job and not become tech support experts themselves.
Where can everybody go to learn more?
You mentioned it earlier, purpleguys.com is the best place to find us. And we're on pretty much all the different social platforms. We've got a link. We're Purple Guys at LinkedIn, Facebook. I think we actually even have an Instagram account. Not quite sure what we use it for, but I think we have one. But the best one is just go to purpleguys.com, and all the contact info is there. We've got a bunch of free resources there as well. That was actually one of the things we did very early on. As soon as we saw that people were struggling with the whole remote thing, we put a best practices. Here's a bunch of free tools that are available, and just started sending that out. Because ultimately we want to see everybody succeed. The tech support space is huge. So there's plenty of customers for us and our competition to go around. So we want to see everybody survive and thrive. And again, I think small business is the engine that keeps this country going. So want to see it be as successful as possible.
John, thanks for coming on, and thanks for all you guys do.
Appreciate it.
So everybody, make sure you check out purpleguys.com. There's a lot of great info here. They have a blog that's phenomenal. And what's interesting is we kind of scratched the surface of how to adjust to, life after the pandemic, but these go really in depth of all of the things that I think are the biggest concerns and challenges as entrepreneurs we face. So go to purpleguys.com. First of all, you get a free consultation with them to see what they may be able to do to help. But beyond that, there's just a ton of great resources here. The blog is phenomenal. There's 10 years worth of content here on their blog with all kinds of details about every kind of possible thing that you could get lost in with IT, especially making this adjustment to post-pandemic life, where we're working from home and we have all new sets of challenges. So make sure you visit purpleguys.com to access a lot of information and schedule a call with these guys, because we all need IT support. And as Jon had made point, when you're taking your time, your salespeople time, whoever it is, man, it's just not worth it. You're wasting high level resources for something that you're going to spend 10 times more time trying to fix than somebody that actually knows what they're doing. As Jon also mentioned, I got 20 people on call just sitting there waiting to take phone calls to help solve problems that we all experience every single day. Man, I could tell you stories about all my IT challenges. So make sure you visit purpleguys.com to maximize your time, maximize your use, and get the experts to come in and actually help you in the areas you need help, and to learn a lot more about the things you need to do to keep your business and your customers, everybody's information safe, as well as adjusting to post-pandemic life, where a lot of us are working from home. So make sure you visit purpleguys.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.